He told me I should be afraid of him. He said men like him don't stop once they decide. And I didn't step back. This is my story. The first time Enzo DeMarco pinned me between his body and a wall, I forgot how to breathe. And I liked it. I should have pushed him away, because if my friends ever find out about him, I lose everything. Instead, I leaned in. I didn't mean to. That's the lie I tell myself. The truth is, I'd been leaning toward him for weeks. It started with the way he looked at me. Not casually, not politely, not like the other men in our world who flirted because they were bored. Enzo didn't flirt. He studied. The first time I noticed it, we were all in the same room. Harper laughing too loudly, Morgan pretending she didn't care who was watching her, Sophia quiet and calculating as always. I was the easy one. The gentle one. The one no one worried about. And Enzo stood across the room, glass in hand, eyes locked on me like I was a problem he intended to solve. He didn't smile. He didn't look away. I did. I told myself it was nothing. Men like Enzo DeMarco didn't look twice at women like me. He was dangerous in a way that didn't need volume. Strategic. Silent. The kind of man who didn't move unless he was certain of the outcome. And I was the peacemaker. I avoided outcomes. I smoothed them. The second time he cornered me wasn't an accident. It was late. The others were distracted. Sophia in conversation, Claire already gone, Harper pretending not to notice the tension between half the room. I slipped into the hallway to breathe. I didn't hear him approach. I just felt him. The shift in the air, the awareness that I wasn't alone anymore. Running? He asked quietly. I turned too fast and collided with him. He didn't step back. His hand closed around my waist, steadying me. Too steady. I wasn't running, I said. You always leave before things get interesting. And you always watch. Yes. No denial, no apology, just yes. I should have walked away then. Instead, I stayed. That's the thing about Enzo. He doesn't chase. He positions. He stepped closer until my back brushed the wall behind me. Not aggressively, not rushed, just inevitability. You're nervous, he said. I'm not. You are. His voice wasn't teasing. It was observational. And worse. Accurate. His hand remained at my waist. Firm. Not wandering. Just there. Claiming space. You shouldn't look at me like that, I said. How do I look at you? Like you've already decided something. I have. My pulse betrayed me. And what's that? That you won't stop me, I swallowed. You don't know me. I know enough. His other hand lifted slowly, pressing against the wall just above my shoulder. Not trapping me. Creating a boundary. His body didn't crush mine. It hovered. Close enough that I felt heat through fabric. Close enough that breathing became conscious. You don't belong in the middle of this, he murmured. Of what? Wolves, I should have laughed. Instead, I asked, and you? I'm not pretending to be anything else. My hand found his chest before I realized I'd moved, flat against solid muscle beneath a perfectly tailored suit. I felt his heartbeat, slow, steady, controlled, not like mine. You're playing a dangerous game, I whispered. I don't play. His gaze dropped to my mouth. Then, back to my eyes. You should be afraid of me. I'm not. That's the problem. And then he kissed me. No warning, no build-up. His mouth captured mine like he'd been waiting. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was deliberate. His hand tightened at my waist, fingers pressing just enough to remind me he could hold me there if he wanted to. And God. I didn't fight him. I leaned into it. My fingers curled into his shirt. My mouth answered his. The world narrowed to heat and breath and the solid line of him against me. He tasted like control, like something I shouldn't want. His hands slid from my waist up the curve of my side, stopping just below my ribs. Not crossing lines, testing them. You see? He murmured against my mouth. See what? You're not afraid. I wasn't. That was the worst part. Footsteps echoed faintly down the hallway. He stepped back instantly. Composed. Untouched. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just rearranged something inside me. If they find out, I said quietly, it ends. For them, he replied, not for me. He didn't need to say it. It was in his eyes. That night I lay awake replaying it. The press of him. The certainty. The way he hadn't asked. The way I hadn't resisted. I told myself it was a mistake. A moment. Something that wouldn't happen again. And I almost believed it. Until he did it again. The next time was worse. Because I was expecting him. I shouldn't have been. I should have avoided him. But I found myself scanning rooms, feeling the absence of his gaze when he wasn't there. It was addictive before I admitted it was. He cornered me in the elevator. Of course he did. Doors sliding shut with a soft mechanical click that sounded too final. We were alone. Mirrors on 3 sides. No escape without spectacle. You're avoiding me, he said. I'm not. You are. I have nothing to avoid. His eyes darkened slightly. Say that again. I have nothing to avoid. He stepped forward. My back hit cool mirrored glass. His hand came to my waist again. That same firm hold. The other braced beside my head. Déjà vu. Only closer. Tell me you didn't think about me, he said quietly. Silence. Tell me. I didn't, I whispered. He smiled. Not amused. Certain. You're a terrible liar, Natalie. My name in his mouth did something dangerous. You don't get to decide what I feel, I said. I don't need to. He kissed me again. Harder this time. Hungrier. Like he'd been holding back and decided not to anymore. His body pressed fully against mine. No space. No pretending. My hands slid up his chest again, fingers gripping his jacket. The elevator hummed faintly around us. We had seconds. Maybe less. And still I didn't stop him. He pulled back just before the doors opened, composed again. Secret. I breathed. Yes. If anyone finds out, they won't. You can't guarantee that. I can. The doors opened. He stepped out first. I followed. Shaking. This is the part one should explain. I am not reckless. I don't chase chaos. I don't destroy friendships for adrenaline. But Enzo doesn't feel like chaos. He feels like gravity. Like something pulling whether I resist or not. And the more I tell myself to step back, the closer I find myself standing. He started showing up everywhere, not touching me in front of them, not lingering too long. Just watching. Knowing. And every time our eyes met across a room, it felt like a secret burning between us. Harper almost noticed once. You're flushed, she said. It's warm in here. She didn't press. But Enzo's gaze didn't move from me. He liked the risk. I could see it. He liked that I was hiding him, that I was protecting him. And maybe that should have scared me more than his hands at my waist. The third time he pinned me against a wall, I didn't pretend to resist. It was in his office. Private. Door locked. You're overwhelming, I told him. Good. That's not romantic. I'm not trying to be romantic. His hand slid to the back of my neck, fingers tangling lightly in my hair. Firm. Possessive. You don't get to control this, I whispered. I already am. You're arrogant. You're shaking. I was. Not from fear, from anticipation. You should let me go, I said. Say it like you mean it. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. His thumb brushed lightly along my jaw. Exactly, he murmured, and kissed me again. This is how it begins. Not with promises, not with declarations, with walls and breath and hands that don't ask permission. If my friends ever find out about him, I lose everything. But when he corners me, when his hand closes around my waist, when his mouth finds mine, I don't think about loss. I think about how alive I feel. And that's the most dangerous part of all. The worst part about secrets is how quickly they start to feel sacred. By the time Enzo cornered me for the 4th time, I wasn't pretending it was accidental. I was waiting for it. It happened 3 days after the elevator. 3 days of pretending nothing had shifted. 3 days of sitting across from him in rooms full of people, feeling his gaze slide over me like a private touch. 3 days of not breathing properly. He didn't text. He didn't call. He didn't approach me in front of anyone. He just watched. And I watched him watching me. That was the beginning of the addiction. Not the kissing. Not the walls. The anticipation. It was late when it happened again. Most of the others had left. Harper and Morgan were arguing about something small and dramatic. Sophia had already slipped away, unreadable as ever. I told myself I was tired. I told myself I should leave. Instead, I lingered. I felt him before I saw him. That shift in air. That awareness that the room had narrowed. You're learning, he said quietly behind me. I didn't turn. Learning what? How to wait. I'm not waiting. You are. I faced him then. He looked composed as always. Dark suit. Clean lines. No visible cracks. But his eyes were different. Focused. Hunger held tightly behind control. This isn't smart, I said. No, he agreed. Then stop. He stepped closer. You want me to? The question wasn't soft. It was direct. And dangerous. We were alone in a private lounge just off the main hall. Door partially closed. Lights dimmer here, but not dark enough to hide anything. I don't want to be reckless, I said. You're not. It feels like I am. You're choosing. That word again. Choosing. His hand found my waist before I could brace for it. Firm. Familiar now. Too familiar. You shouldn't touch me like that, I whispered. Why? Because someone could walk in. His mouth curved slightly. And? And they'd know. They won't. You can't promise that. I can. The confidence in his voice did something reckless to my pulse. He moved closer, backing me slowly toward the wall again. Not rushed, not forceful, just steady inevitability. You're shaking, he murmured. I'm not. You are. His other hand came up beside my head again, palm flat against the wall. Same position. Same trap. But this time, I stepped into it. My hand pressed against his chest without hesitation. His heart was still steady. Mine wasn't. You don't get to decide this, I said. I don't decide, he replied quietly. I take. The words should have scared me. They didn't. They made my stomach tighten in a way that wasn't fear. His mouth found mine without warning. Harder than before. Not gentle. Not testing. Claiming. My fingers twisted in his jacket as his body pressed fully against mine. Heat. Pressure. Breath. He didn't rush his hands. He held my waist firmly, thumbs brushing just enough to make me feel the restraint in him, like he was always holding back something worse. You taste like you've been thinking about me, he murmured against my mouth. I haven't. You have. His lips moved to my jaw, then lower, just beneath my ear. My knees nearly betrayed me. He felt it. Of course he did. His hand tightened at my waist, anchoring me. You're overwhelmed, he said quietly. Yes. Good. I pulled back slightly. That's not something you should enjoy. I enjoy honesty. The door handle shifted faintly. He stepped back instantly. Composed. Untouched. I forced myself to breathe normally. The door opened halfway. Someone peeking in briefly before closing it again. No one noticed. No one saw. And somehow, that made it worse, because we were getting away with it. This stays between us, I said once we were alone again. It does. You don't tell anyone. I don't talk. And you don't make it obvious. He studied me carefully. Are you ashamed? No. Then what? I don't want to lose them. His expression shifted slightly. Not softer, just more focused. You won't. You don't know that. I do. How? Because I won't let you. The words landed heavier than they should have. You don't control everything, I said. No, he replied calmly. Just what matters. He didn't kiss me again. He didn't push further. He just stepped back and adjusted his jacket like nothing had happened. That control was worse than recklessness, because it meant he could stop. And he chose not to. The next morning, I woke up thinking about his hands, the way he never rushed, the way he never begged, the way he positioned himself so I always had to decide. That's what made it addictive. He wasn't chasing me. He was waiting for me to step closer. And I always did. It escalated that night. Of course it did. He cornered me in his office. Door locked. No partial opening this time. No accidental interruptions. You shouldn't have locked it, I said quietly. You shouldn't have come. I had work. So do I. His gaze dragged slowly over me, not leering, assessing, like I was something he'd already claimed. You're distracted, he said. I'm not. You are. He moved closer. No wall this time, just his body invading space deliberately. You don't get to overwhelm me, I said. I already do. His hand slid to the back of my neck, fingers threading lightly into my hair. Firm, not painful, possessive. My breath hitched. There it is, he murmured. What? That sound? I hate you, I whispered. No, you don't. He was right. That was the worst part. He backed me toward his desk this time. Not slamming, not aggressive, just pressure. My hips brushed the edge of polished wood. His body between my knees before I realized he'd moved. You said this stays secret, I breathed. It does. Then why does it feel like you want to be caught? I don't. You like the risk. I like you, he corrected. The simplicity of it undid me more than the tension. His mouth found mine again. Slower this time. Deeper. Not frantic. Possessive. His hand moved from my neck down my spine, stopping at my waist. Holding. Containing. I melted. There's no softer word for it. I melted against him. Not because I was weak. Because I wanted to. You're addicted, he murmured against my mouth. I'm not. You are. I can stop. Try. The challenge in his voice made something reckless spark inside me. I pushed against his chest lightly. He didn't move. Let me go, I said. He didn't. Not immediately. His forehead rested against mine. You don't want that, he said quietly. He was right. And he knew it. Footsteps passed outside the office. Voices. Close. Too close. He didn't step back this time. He held my gaze. If they ever find out, I whispered, they won't. And if they do, his thumb brushed lightly along my jaw, then we handle it. We. The word settled deep, dangerous, permanent. When I left his office that night, my legs felt unsteady, not from fear, from need. That's the part one don't want to admit. It isn't just that he corners me, it's that I crave the moment before he does. The anticipation, the inevitability, the way his eyes darken just before he closes the distance. I should have pushed him away. I should have chosen safety. Instead, I keep leaning in. And the more I do, the harder it's going to be to pretend I'm not already his. By the time I decided to avoid him, it was already too late. Avoiding someone like Enzo DeMarco requires distance. And distance is impossible when the person you're avoiding knows exactly how you move. He stopped cornering me for 2 days. 2 full days. No hallway traps. No elevator silence. No office doors locking behind me. He didn't text. He didn't approach. He simply existed in the same space as I did. Watching. Waiting. It was worse than being pinned, because without his hands on me, I felt the absence of them. That's when I knew it wasn't about tension anymore. It was about craving. "You're quiet," Harper said casually over coffee. "I'm tired." "You don't get tired." I forced a small laugh. "I do, actually." She studied me a second too long. I looked away. Across the room, Enzo was standing near the window, not looking at me. Not obviously. But the moment I glanced over, his eyes lifted. Locked, held, didn't move. I looked away first. Again, I left early that night. On purpose. I told myself it was strength, distance, control. I made it halfway down the corridor before I heard his voice. "You're predictable." I stopped walking. Slowly turned. He was leaning casually against the wall like he'd been there the entire time. Maybe he had. "I'm not predictable. You always leave when you start thinking too much. And you always follow?" "Yes." No shame. No hesitation. Just truth. "You don't get to decide that," I said. "I don't decide," he replied calmly. "I anticipate." He pushed off the wall and walked toward me. Unhurried. Measured. The hallway was empty. Too quiet. "You've been avoiding me." "Yes." "Why?" "You're overwhelming." His mouth curved slightly. "Good." "That's not charming." "I'm not trying to charm you." He stopped inches away. "Not touching. Not yet." "Then what are you trying to do?" I asked. His eyes dropped slowly over me, then back to my face. "See how long you last." My pulse spiked. "That's arrogant." "It's accurate." I stepped back. He stepped forward, until my spine met cool stone. Again. The familiarity of it made my stomach tighten. "You don't get to corner me every time you feel like it," I said. His hand came up, bracing against the wall beside my head, not touching me yet, just creating the shape of confinement. "I don't feel like it," he said quietly. "I plan it." My breath caught. That wasn't flirtation. That was intention. "You're playing with something you shouldn't," I whispered. "I don't play. I'm not like the others." "I know." "You don't know me. I know enough." His other hand slid to my waist. Not roughly, but firm, anchoring. "You think this is temporary," he continued. "It is." "No." "Yes." "You're already waiting for me." I shook my head. "I'm not." "You are." His thumb pressed slightly into the curve of my hip, just enough to make my body react. "You're shaking again," he murmured. "I'm not afraid of you." "I know." "Then why do you keep saying I should be?" His eyes darkened slightly. "Because if you're not afraid, it means you want this." Silence. The air felt too tight, too close. He leaned in, stopping just short of my mouth. "Tell me you don't." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. He smiled, not amused, certain. And then he kissed me. Harder than before, not rushed, not sloppy. Controlled pressure, his body pressing fully against mine. No space left to pretend. My hands moved automatically to his chest, fingers curling into the fabric of his suit. He didn't grab at me. He held me, like he was containing something, or claiming something, or both. "You don't get to avoid me," he murmured against my mouth. "I can try. You won't. You're not in control." His hand slid up the side of my neck, fingers threading lightly into my hair. Firm, possessive. "You're not fighting," he said quietly, because I wasn't. I was melting again. And he knew it. "I should walk away," I whispered. "Do it." He didn't move, didn't loosen his grip, didn't give me space. "Let me go," I said softly. "Say it like you mean it." I couldn't. God, I couldn't. And that terrified me more than his hands. He pulled back just enough to look at me. "You're addicted," he said calmly. "I'm not." "You are. You don't get to label me." "I don't need to. Your body does." Heat flushed my skin. "You're impossible. You're honest. I'm not. You are with me." That was the problem. With him, there was no pretending, no performing, just reaction. Just truth. I need to pause here, because this was the moment I realized it wasn't just attraction. It was addiction, and he knew it before I did. I knew it when I didn't push him away. I knew it when I felt his hands and didn't panic. I knew it when the thought of him not touching me felt worse than the risk of being caught. And that's when it stopped being harmless. "You like that I'm secret," he said quietly. "I don't." "You do. I don't like lying. But you're doing it." I swallowed. "You like that no one else sees this," he continued. "That it's yours. That's not fair." "It's true." His forehead rested against mine. Close. Too close. "If they ever find out," I whispered. "They won't." "You can't promise that." "I can." "How?" "Because I won't let you lose." The certainty in his voice wasn't comforting. It was dangerous. "You don't get to decide what I lose," I said. "I already have." My stomach tightened. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said softly, "I don't intend to give you back." The words landed heavy. Not romantic. Not sweet. Possessive. "You don't own me," I whispered. "No." His thumb brushed along my jaw. "But you don't belong to anyone else either." My breath stuttered. "You're overwhelming." "I know." "And you like it." "Yes." Footsteps echoed faintly at the end of the hall. He stepped back this time, composed instantly, like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just rearranged my pulse. "You can avoid me tomorrow," he said. "I will." "No, you won't." And he walked away, leaving me against the wall, breathless, shaking, wanting more. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself I still had control, trying to convince myself I wasn't already slipping. But every time I closed my eyes, I felt his hands, his voice, his certainty. And the worst part? I wanted him to corner me again. I wanted him to test me again. I wanted him to prove I wasn't strong enough to stop this. Because that would mean it wasn't my fault. But it is. Every time I lean in, every time I don't say no, every time I let him press me against a wall and pretend I'm not choosing it, this isn't something he's doing to me. It's something I'm walking into. And I don't think I want to walk away. I knew I shouldn't go to his penthouse. That was the difference this time. Before, I could pretend it was coincidence, proximity, timing. This wasn't. When his message came, it was simple. Come upstairs. No greeting, no explanation, just expectation. I stared at it for a full minute before I moved. If my friends ever find out about him, I lose everything. I grabbed my coat anyway. The elevator ride felt longer than it ever had. Private access. Top floor. No interruptions. The doors opened into quiet. His space was exactly what I expected. Minimal. Clean lines. Floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the city. Nothing unnecessary. Nothing personal. He was standing near the window when I stepped inside. He didn't turn immediately. "You came," he said. "You told me to." "That's not why." I shut the door behind me. "You don't get to assume that." "I don't assume," he replied calmly. "I observe." He turned then. No jacket tonight. Just a dark shirt rolled at the sleeves. Controlled. Intentionally undone. "You've been thinking about me," he said. "I haven't." "You have." I exhaled slowly. "Why am I here?" He stepped toward me. Slow. Measured. "Because you don't want to fight this anymore." "That's not true." "It is." He stopped inches away. Close enough to feel heat. Close enough to walk away. "You should leave," he said quietly. The words startled me. "What?" "You should walk out that door." "Why?" "Because if you stay, you're not pretending anymore." My pulse pounded in my throat. "And if I stay?" His eyes darkened. "Then you stop lying to yourself." I didn't move. He stepped closer. His hand found my waist, slower this time. No rush. No sudden movement. Intentional. His thumb brushed lightly along my side, almost absent-minded, but not absent. "You're trembling," he murmured. "I'm not afraid." "I know." His other hand came to the back of my neck. Firm. Possessive, not painful, just grounding. "You feel it," he said. "Yes." The honesty slipped out before I could stop it. His mouth lowered to mine. Not hard this time, not consuming. Slow. Exploratory. Like he had all the time in the world. My hand slid up his chest automatically, fingers gripping the fabric at his shoulders. He deepened the kiss gradually, pressing me backward until my spine met cool glass. The city stretched behind me in lights and distance. He stepped between my legs when I instinctively shifted, body aligned with mine. "No space. You don't get to look at me like that." I whispered. "Like what?" "Like you already own me." He brushed his mouth along my jaw. "Do I?" My breath hitched. "You don't." His hand tightened slightly at my waist. "You're here." "That doesn't mean..." He kissed me again, cutting off the argument. His hands moved lower this time, not hurried, just mapping. The curve of my hips, the line of my back, every movement controlled, deliberate. "You're overwhelmed," he said quietly against my skin. "Yes." "Do you want me to stop?" Silence. The room felt smaller. Hotter. No. He didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. He just continued. His mouth traced down my neck. Slow. Precise. My fingers slid into his hair without thinking, holding him there. Encouraging him. That was the shift. Before, he cornered me. Now, I was pulling him closer. He lifted me easily. No strain, no hesitation. My legs wrapped around his waist before I could reconsider. He walked us backward toward the bedroom. No urgency, just inevitability. He laid me down carefully. Not rough, not frantic, just controlled. He hovered over me, studying. "You're sure?" he asked. It wasn't teasing. It wasn't a trap. It was real. "Yes," I whispered. His mouth claimed mine again. Deeper this time. Less restraint. His hands moved along my body. Slowly. Deliberate. Learning. Not grabbing. Not taking. Holding. Exploring. My breath broke when his mouth trailed lower, when his hands slid beneath the edge of fabric. He paused, looking at me, not asking permission, confirming it. I nodded. Small, certain. And then the moment tipped. Clothes shifted. Heat replaced space. His mouth everywhere. His hands firm at my hips, my back arching without permission. He came over me and everything blurred. My breathing was uneven. His wasn't. He lay beside me, one arm around my waist, pulling me against his chest. Possessive, protective, silent. His hand rested lightly at my throat. Not gripping, just there. "You're shaking," he said softly. "I know." "Regret?" "No." "Fear?" "No." He brushed his lips against my temple. "Good." I turned my face into his shoulder. This was the part that scared me more than the walls, the quiet after. The way he didn't rush me out. The way he held me like I belonged there. "You don't share," he said after a moment. It wasn't a question. "What?" "You don't share yourself easily." "No." "Neither do I." His hand tightened slightly at my waist. "I don't share what's mine." The words should have felt suffocating. Instead, they felt stabilizing, and that terrified me. "I'm not yours," I said quietly. He didn't argue, he just held me closer. "Then why are you still here?" he murmured. I didn't answer. Because I didn't have one that didn't expose me completely. When I left an hour later, my legs felt weak. Not from exhaustion, from knowing something irreversible had happened. This wasn't hallway tension anymore. This wasn't stolen elevator kisses. This was intimacy, private, hidden, consuming. And the worst part? I was already thinking about the next time, and if my friends ever find out about him. But when he touches me, when his hands hold me steady, when his voice drops and the world narrows, I don't think about loss. I think about how I feel when I'm against him, and I don't think I've ever felt more alive. That's the problem. I knew I shouldn't go to his penthouse. That was the difference this time. Before, I could pretend it was coincidence, proximity, timing. This wasn't. When his message came, it was simple. Come upstairs, no greeting, no explanation, just expectation. I stared at it for a full minute before I moved. If my friends ever find out about him, I lose everything. I grabbed my coat anyway. The elevator ride felt longer than it ever had. Private access, top floor. No interruptions. The doors opened into quiet. His space was exactly what I expected. Minimal. Clean lines. Floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the city. Nothing unnecessary, nothing personal. He was standing near the window when I stepped inside. He didn't turn immediately. "You came," he said. "You told me to." "That's not why." I shut the door behind me. "You don't get to assume that." "I don't assume," he replied calmly. "I observe." He turned then. No jacket tonight, just a dark shirt rolled at the sleeves. Controlled, intentionally undone. "You've been thinking about me," he said. "I haven't." "You have." I exhaled slowly. "Why am I here?" He stepped toward me. Slow. Measured. "Because you don't want to fight this anymore." "That's not true." "It is." He stopped inches away. close enough to feel heat, close enough to walk away. "You should leave," he said quietly. The words startled me. "What?" "You should walk out that door." "Why?" "Because if you stay, you're not pretending anymore." My pulse pounded in my throat. "And if I stay?" His eyes darkened. "Then you stop lying to yourself." I didn't move. He stepped closer. His hand found my waist, slower this time. No rush, no sudden movement. Intentional. His thumb brushed lightly along my side, almost absent-minded, but not absent. "You're trembling," he murmured. "I'm not afraid." "I know." His other hand came to the back of my neck, firm, possessive, not painful, just grounding. "You feel it?" he said. "Yes." The honesty slipped out before I could stop it. His mouth lowered to mine. Not hard this time, not consuming, slow, exploratory, like he had all the time in the world. My hand slid up his chest automatically, fingers gripping the fabric at his shoulders. He deepened the kiss gradually, pressing me backward until my spine met cool glass. The city stretched behind me in lights and distance. He stepped between my legs when I instinctively shifted, body aligned with mine, no space. "You don't get to look at me like that," I whispered. "Like what?" "Like you already own me." He brushed his mouth along my jaw. "Do I?" My breath hitched. "You don't." His hand tightened slightly at my waist. "You're here." "That doesn't mean..." He kissed me again, cutting off the argument. His hands moved lower this time, not hurried, just mapping. The curve of my hips, the line of my back, every movement controlled, deliberate. "You're overwhelmed," he said quietly against my skin. "Yes." "Do you want me to stop?" Silence. The room felt smaller, hotter. No. He didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He just continued. His mouth traced down my neck. Slow, precise. My fingers slid into his hair without thinking, holding him there, encouraging him. That was the shift. Before, he cornered me. Now, I was pulling him closer. He lifted me easily. No strain, no hesitation. My legs wrapped around his waist before I could reconsider. He walked us backward toward the bedroom. No urgency, just inevitability. He laid me down carefully. Not rough, not frantic, just controlled. He hovered over me, studying. "You're sure?" he asked. It wasn't teasing. It wasn't a trap. It was real. "Yes," I whispered. His mouth claimed mine again, deeper this time, less restraint. His hands moved along my body slowly, deliberate, learning. Not grabbing, not taking, holding, exploring. My breath broke when his mouth trailed lower. When his hand slid beneath the edge of fabric, he paused, looking at me, not asking permission, confirming it. I nodded, small, certain, and then the moment tipped. Clothes shifted, heat replaced space, his mouth everywhere, his hands firm at my hips, my back arching without permission, and everything blurred. My breathing was uneven. His wasn't. He lay beside me, one arm around my waist, pulling me against his chest. Possessive, protective, silent. His hand rested lightly at my throat, not gripping, just there. "You're shaking," he said softly. "I know." "Regret?" "No." "Fear?" "No." He brushed his lips against my temple. "Good." I turned my face into his shoulder. This was the part that scared me more than the walls. The quiet after. The way he didn't rush me out. The way he held me, like I belonged there. You don't share, he said after a moment. It wasn't a question. What? You don't share yourself easily. No. Neither do I. His hand tightened slightly at my waist. I don't share what's mine. The words should have felt suffocating. Instead, they felt stabilizing, and that terrified me. I'm not yours, I said quietly. He didn't argue. He just held me closer. Then why are you still here? He murmured. I didn't answer. Because I didn't have one that didn't expose me completely. When I left an hour later, my legs felt weak. Not from exhaustion, from knowing something irreversible had happened. This wasn't hallway tension anymore. This wasn't stolen elevator kisses. This was intimacy. Private. Hidden. Consuming. And the worst part? I was already thinking about the next time. If my friends ever find out about him, I lose everything. But when he touches me, when his hands hold me steady, when his voice drops and the world narrows, I don't think about loss. I think about how I feel when I'm against him. And I don't think I've ever felt more alive. That's the problem. Lying to strangers is easy. Lying to your friends is not. Especially when they know the way your face shifts before you speak. I didn't realize how obvious I'd become until Elena said it. You're distracted. We were at dinner. I forced a smile. I'm just tired. She rolled her eyes. You're never just tired. I didn't say anything. I just watched her. I kept my phone face down on the table. It had buzzed twice in the last 10 minutes. I didn't need to look to know who it was. Enzo didn't send paragraphs. He sent single sentences. You're restless. Stop pretending you're not thinking about me. I hadn't answered. That was my attempt at control. Natalie Whitman does not lose control. Except I already had. Who are you texting? Elena asked casually. No one. Too fast. Too sharp. Elena's eyebrow lifted. That sounded guilty. It wasn't. She tilted her head slightly. You're flushed. It's warm in here. She leaned back in her chair. We're not in high school. If you're seeing someone, just say it. The word seeing felt fragile, like something delicate and harmless. This wasn't harmless. This was something else. I'm not seeing anyone, I said, not entirely a lie. We weren't public. We weren't official. We were something secret, something consuming. My phone buzzed again. This time Elena reached for it. I grabbed it before she could. Too quick. Too defensive. Silence fell at the table. Okay, she said, slowly. That was weird. I just don't like people grabbing my phone. Since when? Since Enzo. Since the messages that feel like he's standing behind me, even when he isn't. Since I started protecting something I shouldn't. Across the restaurant, through glass and warm light, I saw him. He wasn't seated with us. He wasn't even inside. He stood just outside near the entrance, speaking quietly to someone. Dark suit. Composed. Untouched. But his eyes. They were on me. Not subtly. Not cautiously. Just watching. And when our gazes locked, he didn't look away. I did. Again. You know him, she said quietly. I snapped back. What? Enzo. My pulse spiked. I know everyone here. I know everyone here. That's not what I meant. Her tone wasn't accusing, just observant. Too observant. You're imagining things. She held my gaze for a long moment. I hope so, she said softly. The way she said it unsettled me. Not suspicious. Concerned. I left dinner early. Again. I told them I had a headache. She looked unconvinced. but she didn't push. Her eyes followed me as I stood. I could feel them on my back as I walked toward the exit. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Enzo was still there, waiting. "You're careless," I said the moment I stepped outside. "I'm patient." "You were watching us." "Yes." "Why?" "Because you're lying to her." Anger flared in my chest. "You don't get to judge that." "I'm not judging." "Then what?" "Observing." His hand came to my waist automatically, like it belonged there. "Stop," I whispered. He didn't. "You're slipping," he said quietly. "Because of you." "No." His eyes darkened. "Because you want this." The word "this" felt heavy, undefined, dangerous. "You don't get to decide that," I said. "I don't decide, I prove." He backed me toward the side wall of the building. Not rough, just deliberate. The night air cool against my skin, his body heat pressing close. "You're distracted," he murmured, "because you won't leave me alone." "You don't want me to." I didn't answer. His hand slid up my waist slowly, thumb pressing lightly into my side. "You like hiding me," he said. "That's not true. You like that it's ours." "It's not ours." "It is." His mouth brushed my jaw, not kissing, just close enough to make my breath catch. "You're addicted to the secret," he continued. "No, you are." His hand moved to the back of my neck. Firm, possessive. "You don't get to corner me in public," I said. "No one can see us." "That's not the point." "What is?" "If they find out, they won't. You can't guarantee that." His expression shifted slightly. Not softer, colder. "I can guarantee more than you think." Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten. "What does that mean?" He stepped back slightly. Composed again. "Nothing you need to worry about." That wasn't reassuring. "You've been making moves," I said quietly. He tilted his head. "In business." "I always make moves." "You're positioning alliances." "Yes." "And you're watching who stands where." "Yes." "And I'm standing in the middle of it." His eyes sharpened. "You're standing with me." "That's not the same thing." "It is." My pulse pounded harder. "Did you use me?" I asked. The question slipped out before I could stop it. Silence stretched between us. "Did you use my proximity to them?" I pressed. "I don't use you." "That's not what I asked." He stepped closer again, slow, measured. "I benefit from information," he said calmly. "That doesn't mean you're leverage." "But you didn't deny it." His hand slid back to my waist. "You think I need you to access what I want?" "I don't know." "That's the problem," he said softly. His thumb traced the curve of my hip. "You don't understand how I operate." "Then explain it." He leaned in, forehead nearly touching mine. "I don't move pieces I intend to keep." The words settled heavy in my chest. "Keep?" I whispered. "Yes." "That sounds like ownership." "It sounds like intention." I should have stepped away. I should have pushed him back. I should have demanded clarity. Instead, I kissed him. Hard. Not tentative, not cautious. Anger and need tangled together. His body responded instantly, hands firm at my waist, turning me, pressing me against the cool exterior wall. His mouth claimed mine with equal intensity. Heat, pressure, control. "You don't get to manipulate my world," I breathed between kisses. "I'm not manipulating it. You're shifting it." "I always do." His hand slid down my thigh slightly before stopping, testing, holding. "You're part of it now," he said quietly. "I didn't agree to that." "You did." When you leaned in. Footsteps approached from down the street. He stepped back immediately, composed, untouched, like nothing had happened. Again, you're going to hurt me, I said quietly. His eyes flickered. No, you already are. He studied me for a long moment. Then his voice dropped lower. Do you want out? The question hit harder than I expected. Do I? I should. I should want safety, stability, friendship, light. Instead, I don't know, I admitted. He nodded once. Good. That's not a good answer. It is. Why? Because if you wanted out, you'd already be gone. When I walked away from him that night, I felt it. The crack. Not in us. In the lie. Sophia was watching. Harper was noticing. Morgan was suspicious. And Enzo was positioning something larger than I could see. I told myself I wasn't leverage. I told myself he wasn't using me. But I also knew this. He doesn't move without purpose. And I'm standing too close to his plans to pretend I'm not part of them. Still, when he texted me later that night, come here, I don't hesitate. Because whatever game he's playing, I want to be in it. And that might be the most dangerous decision of all. I shouldn't have gone to him that night. But I was tired of wondering. Tired of feeling like I was standing on shifting ground while he stood perfectly still. His office lights were still on when I arrived. Of course they were. He was always working, always calculating, always 3 moves ahead. I didn't knock. I walked in. He didn't look surprised. You're late, he said calmly. I wasn't invited. You came anyway. Yes. He closed the folder in front of him slowly, deliberately, and gave me his full attention. That alone was dangerous. I need you to answer something, I said. I answer what matters. Do I matter? His expression didn't change, but something in the air did. You don't ask questions you don't already know the answer to, he replied. I'm asking anyway. Silence stretched between us. He stood, walked around the desk, slow, measured, like he was approaching something volatile. You think I'm using you, he said. I think you're capable of it. I am. The honesty knocked the breath from my lungs. But I'm not using you. That's convenient. It's factual. How do I know? You don't. The bluntness of it made my chest tighten. You don't get blind trust, I said. I don't want blind. Then what do you want? He stopped, inches away from me, close enough to feel his heat. Your choice. You're shifting alliances, I said. Yes. You're pressuring people. Yes. You're watching who breaks. Yes. And I'm connected to them. You are. So how am I not part of your strategy? His eyes darkened slightly. You are part of my life. That's not what I asked. No? He stepped closer. Close enough that I had to tilt my head slightly to hold his gaze. I don't move pieces I intend to protect. Protect. The word felt dangerous in his mouth. I don't need protection. I whispered. I know. Then what do you intend to do with me? His hand came to my waist. Firm, steady, keep you. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. My pulse pounded harder. You don't get to decide that. I already did. That's not how this works. It is with me. Anger flared in my chest. You don't get to build your empire and expect me to stand quietly beside it. I don't expect quiet. Then what? He leaned in slightly. Stay. The word was low. Controlled, not pleading. Commanding. You're overwhelming, I said. Good. That's not flattering. I'm not trying to flatter you. His hand slid from my waist to the small of my back, drawing me closer. You're not afraid of me, he said. No, you're afraid of yourself. The truth of it stung, because he wasn't wrong. I don't want to lose them, I whispered. You won't. You can't guarantee that. His voice dropped lower. I can guarantee that no one touches you, no one replaces you, no one gets what I get. The possessiveness in it made my stomach tighten. You don't own me. No, his thumb brushed along my jaw. But you don't belong to anyone else. This is the moment I should have told him to leave me alone. I didn't. So before I tell you what happened next, tell me something. Would you walk away from the one thing that makes you feel alive? Because that's what it felt like. Not chaos, not danger, alive. And I wasn't ready to give that up. I need to know this is real, I said quietly. It is. That's not enough. What would be enough? Say it. He didn't hesitate. I want you. That's physical. Yes, I want more. He studied me carefully. You're not something temporary. Then what am I? Mine. The word landed heavy. Not soft, not romantic. Absolute. You don't get to say that. I just did. I kissed him first this time. Hard. Desperate. Angry. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. He reacted instantly, arms wrapping around me, lifting me effortlessly onto the edge of his desk, his body between my knees. No hesitation. No pause. You're shaking, he murmured against my mouth. I don't care. That's new. I'm tired of pretending. His hands slid along my thigh slowly, deliberate, claiming. You don't get to be reckless, he said. I'm not reckless. You are with me. Then stop me. He didn't. Instead, he kissed me deeper, slower, his hand at my waist anchoring me, the other sliding into my hair. Holding. Controlling. I felt it. The shift. He was still composed, but the edge was thinner. You're mine in the dark, he murmured against my lips. That's not fair. It's true. His mouth moved along my neck. Lower. Slower. My fingers tightened in his hair. You're overwhelming, I breathed. Good. You keep saying that. Because you keep staying. His hands moved lower. Firm, possessive, guiding, not rushing, building. Heat spread through me slowly, intentionally. He didn't devour. He consumed. There's a difference. His mouth traced downward, his hands mapping every inch like he was memorizing it. And when everything tipped, when restraint thinned, when breath turned uneven, I lay against him in the quiet, his arm heavy around my waist, his hand resting possessively against my hip, my head against his chest, his heartbeat steady, mine still racing. You're not used to not being in control, he said quietly. I'm not out of control. You are with me. Maybe I want to be. His fingers tightened slightly. You don't want anyone else to see this? He said. No. Good. Why good? Because this is ours. The word again. Ours. It felt wrong. It felt right. That was the problem. What happens when they find out? I asked softly. They won't. And if they do, his jaw tightened slightly. Then we deal with it. Together? Yes. I lifted my head slightly. You don't hesitate when you say that. No. Why? Because I don't intend to let you go. The certainty in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it steadied me. And that's when I realized something terrifying. I wasn't afraid of losing him. I was afraid of needing him. When I left his office that night, the lie felt heavier. The girls would notice soon. Sophia already suspected. Harper was watching. Morgan was impatient. And Enzo was building something larger than I could see. But when he looks at me, when he says mine, when he presses me against a wall and I forget how to breathe, I don't feel like leverage. I feel chosen. And I don't know if that's strength or the beginning of my undoing. I didn't mean to find out. That's the part 1 replay later. If I hadn't walked back into the building, if I hadn't forgotten my phone, if I hadn't paused outside the conference room door when I heard my name. Maybe I could have stayed ignorant. Maybe I could have stayed safe. But I did hear it. And I didn't walk away. Natalie keeps them steady, a male voice said. Enzo's voice answered. I know. She's close to all of them. Yes. And that proximity gives you visibility. A pause. Then Enzo again. It gives me awareness. Awareness. Not denial. Not correction. Awareness. My stomach tightened. She doesn't know the full picture. The other man continued. She doesn't need to. Cold. Precise. Efficient. My chest felt tight. She trusts you, the man said. Another pause. I know, Enzo replied quietly. The way he said it, not triumphant, not amused, just certain. That hurt more. I stepped back from the door before I could hear more, before I could hear something worse. My pulse thundered in my ears. I wasn't naive. I knew Enzo moved strategically. I knew he built alliances. I knew proximity had value. But hearing it said out loud, hearing my name placed inside a conversation about leverage, it cracked something. I waited for him in his office, not pacing, not crying. Just still. When he walked in and saw me sitting in the chair across from his desk, he didn't look surprised. You heard, he said, not a question. Yes. He closed the door behind him calmly, locked it. The click echoed. I didn't intend for you to find out like that, he said. That's not what I'm upset about. No. He walked toward me slowly, measured. You're upset because you think you're a piece. I'm upset because you didn't correct him. Silence. You didn't say that I wasn't leverage. I didn't say you were. That's not the same thing. He stopped in front of me, close, but not touching. You want me to lie? He asked. I want you to be clear. I am. Then say it. He held my gaze. You are close to them. Yes. That proximity gives me awareness. So I am useful. You're powerful, he corrected. That's not what I asked. His jaw tightened slightly. I benefit from knowing how they think. And you know how they think because of me. Yes. The honesty hit harder than denial would have. So you did use me. No. Yes. His hand came to my waist automatically. Instinctive, claiming. I stepped back. Don't, I said. His hand froze, fell away. That was new. I didn't pursue you for information, he said quietly. That's not the point. It is. You let it benefit you. I let reality exist. You could have drawn a line. I don't draw lines that weaken me. The cold logic in that statement sliced clean. And I'm weakness? I asked. No. Then what am I? He stepped closer, slowly. You are the only part of this I don't calculate. That's convenient. It's true. I laughed softly, not amused. You calculate everything. Yes. So don't insult me by pretending I'm the exception. His eyes darkened slightly. You think I don't know what it costs to stand beside you? He asked. You're not standing beside me, you're building around me, and you're still here. The words landed heavy. You think that excuses it? No. Then why say it? Because you haven't walked away. I stood, closed the distance myself this time. If I walk away, I said quietly, is that inconvenient for you strategically? His expression didn't flicker. Yes. The bluntness made my chest ache. And personally? Yes. That answer hurt worse. Which one matters more? I asked. He didn't hesitate. You. I searched his face for deception, for calculation, for strategy. All I saw was certainty. You don't hesitate, I whispered. No. Why? Because I don't build things I'm willing to lose. And I'm part of what you're building. Yes. The admission made the room feel smaller. You said you don't move pieces you intend to protect, I said. I don't, but you still moved. I moved the board, he corrected, not you. That's semantics? It's distinction. I turned away from him, my chest tight, my thoughts loud. You could have told me, I said. You didn't ask. I shouldn't have to. Then what do you want? The question wasn't sharp. It wasn't defensive. It was direct. I want to know that I'm not collateral, I said. You're not. How? His hand came to my waist again, slowly, giving me time to step away. I didn't. You're not collateral because I don't sacrifice what's mine. The possessiveness in it wrapped around my spine. I'm not yours to protect, I whispered. Then why are you still here? The question again. The trap again. And the worst part? I didn't have an answer that made me innocent. You could destroy my friendships, I said. I won't. You don't know that. I do. How? Because I don't need to. His thumb brushed lightly along my jaw. I'm not attacking them, he continued. I'm repositioning power, and I'm standing in the middle of it. You're standing with me. That's not the same thing. It is, if you choose it. The truth settled between us, heavy, unavoidable. He hadn't seduced me to gain access. He hadn't faked desire. But he also hadn't separated strategy from intimacy. He let both exist, and I walked into it willingly. That's the difference between us, I said quietly. You separate emotion and ambition. And you don't? I don't want to. His gaze softened slightly. Just slightly. Then don't. It's not that simple. It is for me. You don't lose things the way I do. No, he agreed. I lose differently. Silence stretched. Tense. Unfinished. You're not innocent in this, he said quietly. I know. You knew who I was. Yes. You knew I build. Yes. And you stayed. Yes. The admission felt like surrender. You're not leverage, he said again. You're alignment. That word. Alignment. Chosen. Deliberate. Dangerous. If they find out, I whispered, they won't. And if they do, then they'll know you chose. And you're comfortable with that? Yes. The certainty in his voice steadied something in me. You don't regret this, I said. No. Not even strategically? No. Why? He stepped closer, forehead nearly touching mine. Because I don't mix distraction with obsession. My breath caught. Obsession? Yes, you don't say that lightly. I don't say anything lightly. His hand tightened slightly at my waist. I would dismantle every alliance I've built before I let you walk away thinking you were a pawn. The intensity in his voice wasn't dramatic. It was factual, and that made it more dangerous. I searched his face one last time, looking for calculation, for deception, for manipulation. I found none, just a man who builds power like architecture, and decided to build me into it. You're diabolical, I whispered. Yes, and you expect me to stand beside that. Yes, and not be afraid? Yes, I exhaled slowly. You should terrify me. I know. But you don't. He studied me carefully. No, he said quietly. I don't. I stepped into him, closed the last inch. Not because I was blind, not because I was manipulated, because I understood. He would always build, he would always calculate, he would always move pieces, and I could either stand outside it, or choose my position inside it. I'm not collateral, I said softly. No. I'm not leverage. No. I'm not temporary. No. His hand came to my waist again, firm, possessive, certain. You're not walking away, he said. No, I admitted, and that was the choice. Not naive, not unaware, chosen. I know what he is. I know what he does. I know that loving a man like Enzo DeMarco means standing close to ambition, sharp enough to cut. But when he looks at me, when he says I'm alignment, not leverage, when he refuses to apologize but also refuses to let me fall, I don't feel used. I feel claimed. And that may be the most dangerous thing of all. The night everything could have unraveled, didn't. That's the strange part. I expected confrontation. I expected exposure. I expected Elena to look at me and say it out loud. Instead, the world continued, which somehow felt heavier. We were all in the same room again. I watched them from afar. Harper loud. Morgan restless. Ava smiling. Claire composed. Sophia observant. Elena suspicious. And me. Careful. Measured. Aware. Enzo stood across the room in conversation with two men I didn't recognize. Strategic posture. Relaxed shoulders. Controlled expression. No one would guess he had me against his office wall 2 nights ago. No one would guess I memorized the way his hand rests at my waist. No one would guess I'm already choosing him. That's the danger of secrets. They make you powerful and fragile at the same time. Elena watched me too long. You're different, she said quietly. Different how? Certain. The word caught in my throat. I've always been certain. No, she replied calmly. You've always been neutral. I didn't respond, because she wasn't wrong. And now? I asked carefully. She held my gaze. Now you've chosen. The air shifted. She didn't ask who. She didn't accuse. She just observed. And in that moment, I understood something clearly. They would know eventually. Not because of evidence, because of alignment. Later that night, Enzo found me on the terrace. Not the dramatic kind, just quiet air and glass walls and city light. You're steady, he said. I am. You're not spiraling. I'm not. Good. I crossed my arms. They suspect. Yes. You don't seem concerned. I'm not. That's reckless. No, he replied calmly. It's controlled. I stepped closer. You don't get to act like this won't fracture things. I don't. Then why are you so calm? He looked at me the way he always does. Direct. Unflinching. Because I know what I'm willing to lose. And what's that? Everything but you. The simplicity of it knocked the breath from my lungs. You don't get to say things like that lightly, I whispered. I don't. And if it costs me them, it won't. You don't know that. I do. How? Because I won't let you stand alone. His hand came to my waist. Not possessive in the aggressive sense. Just certain. Grounding. You built your world without asking anyone's permission, I said. Yes. And you expect me to do the same. Yes. That's not who I am. No. He agreed softly. But it's who you're becoming. The truth of that unsettled me. Not because it felt wrong. Because it felt accurate. You're not innocent in this, he continued. I know. You could have walked away. I know. You didn't. No. His thumb brushed lightly along my hip. You stayed. Yes. And you're still here. Yes. The repetition wasn't about reassurance. It was about acknowledgement. This wasn't manipulation. It wasn't coercion. It wasn't accident. It was choice. What happens now? I asked quietly. Now? He repeated. Yes. Now we continue. Secretly? Yes. For how long? As long as necessary. And when it's not necessary? His gaze sharpened slightly. Then it stops being secret. The certainty in that statement made something inside me steady. You don't hesitate, I said. No. Why? Because I don't build temporary things. There it was again. Architecture. Structure. I wasn't a moment. I was placement. And I realized that didn't feel small. It felt deliberate. You're obsessed with control, I said softly. Yes. And me? His eyes darkened slightly. With you, I'm intentional. That's not the same. It is for me. He stepped closer, the space between us narrowing. You're mine in the dark, he said quietly. And in the light? That depends on you. The answer was honest. Not romantic. Not dramatic. Conditional. And I respected that more than promises. I won't be hidden forever, I said. You won't. I won't be collateral. You aren't. I won't be a pawn. You're not. His hand slid from my waist up along my spine. Slow. Controlled. You're the only thing in this I don't negotiate. The words weren't loud, they weren't theatrical, they were factual, and that's what made them powerful. I kissed him first, not desperate, not frantic, just certain. His hand tightened at my waist, pulling me flush against him. No walls this time. No desk, just open air and glass and city light behind us. You're choosing me, he murmured against my mouth. Yes. Fully. Yes. No halfway. No, he studied me carefully. Say it. I'm choosing you. The words felt heavy. Not romantic. Not reckless. Intentional. His mouth claimed mine again. Slower this time. Deeper. Not about urgency. About confirmation. His hand moved along my back. Holding. Anchoring. No rush. No hunger that needed proving. Just possession acknowledged. You won't regret this, he said quietly. That's a bold claim. I don't make soft ones. And if I do, he rested his forehead against mine. Then we adjust. The simplicity of that answer steadied me. He wasn't promising perfection. He was promising presence. Inside, laughter rose from the room where my friends still stood, each in their own space, but aware of each other. Familiar, safe, unaware. I felt the pull of it, the warmth, the history, and I didn't feel separate from it, just different. You don't feel smaller, he said quietly. No. You don't feel used? No. You don't feel trapped? No. His hand pressed more firmly at my waist. Then you're exactly where you want to be. I exhaled slowly. He was right. I wasn't ruined. I wasn't manipulated. I wasn't coerced. I was choosing something dangerous. With my eyes open. They'll find out eventually, I said softly. Yes. And when they do, they'll see you standing. Not hiding? No. I searched his face for doubt. There was none. Only intention. We stayed like that for a long moment. Close, breathing the same air. City light reflecting in the glass behind us. You're not temporary, he said again. And you're not gentle. No. I don't need gentle. I know. His hand slid down my arm. Fingers lacing with mine briefly. Rare. Intimate. Not something he offers lightly. You're not collateral, he repeated. I know. You're not leverage. I know. You're mine because you chose. Yes. When I walked back inside that night, Nothing looked different. Harper laughed at something. Claire rolled her eyes. Sophia watched quietly. I stood away them. Calm, measured, certain. They don't know. Not yet. But I'm not shaking anymore. I'm not pretending it's temporary. I'm not lying to myself. He corners me. I lean in. He builds. I stand beside him. And whatever fractures come, I'll face them knowing this wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Mine. This wasn't a story about innocence. It wasn't about being swept away. It was about proximity. About tension that never pretended to be safe. It was about choice. He didn't trick me. He didn't lie to me. He showed me exactly who he was. And I chose him anyway. If my story stayed with you, if you understand the difference between fear and craving, then you understand me. Thank you for listening. Truly. The next story in 7 Friends Who Fell Too Fast is coming, and her choice may not be quiet or secret or controlled. If this one pulled you in, stay with the series. Tell me in the comments. Would you have walked away from Enzo or leaned in like I did? And let me know where you're listening from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Stay close. The circle isn't done fracturing. Elena is about to set it all on fire. See you in the next book.